Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Before every class, we do this chanting, this invocatory prayer. The prayer is done in the classical class setup, where the teacher and the student, both they chant this mantra. And all that we are saying is, Sahana Vavatu, may he protect us, both of us. You see, because in other times we will be able to protect ourselves. But right now we are engaged in the study. So we are not going to be taking care of all our requirements. So till I complete this study process, help me. It's not a permanent protection we are asking, please. We are asking this protection only till the study gets completed. After that, I'll take care. Right? So may he protect us. Sahana Vavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Let us study. Let us study together with that exertion. Let us strive together. The teacher has to strive to explain the concept. The student has to strive to understand the concept. And let this study be with that viryam. Let it have that power. And that study has to produce what? Exertion, immediately we think of what? Will it be tiring? Will it be boring? No. Let us enjoy that study together. So we ask for protection. Then we say we are going to enjoy that study. And also we are going to go through this process of exertion, not just a good entertainment class. Class was very interesting. This is not meant for you to claim the class was very interesting. This is not to interest you or to keep you in good humor. This is a serious study, right? And then we say not only we are going to enjoy, we are going to exert, and this exertion and an enjoyment and all these things has to produce something. What is it supposed to produce? It is supposed to produce the tejas. The tejas means that spiritual lustre. You see, there is something attractive about that personality. That's called tejas. That's why you find all the temples, the pictures of gods and all that. You'll find a hollow they put behind. What is that? It's just a pictorial representation of that tejas, that attraction. There's something attractive about those people. So let the study be producing the tejas in me. Then comes the crux. Ma vid vishavahai. Very, very important dimension of the mantra. For every mantra, there is something which is very particular, something which is very specific. For this mantra, this is the specific one. Mahavid Vishavahai. Mahavid Vishavahai means let there not be any disputation between us. This is a very interesting one to be chanted by the Guru and the Sishya. You know, between Guru Sishya, they say, let there not be any difference of opinions, arguments. Let there not be any disputation between us. And then we say, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. 3 Shantis. Peace, peace, peace. Why will they say peace, peace, peace 3 times? There are 3 sources of disturbances we may get for this study. First source is cosmic. Second source is environmental. Third source is internal. That's why the first Shanti will be chanted louder. Then second one will be little lower volume. The third one will be almost whispers. So the essential aspect here is, let there not be any dispute between the teacher and the taught. Because in other subjects, this problem never comes. You see, when you study mathematics, the maths teacher is going to ask you only one question. Do you understand or not? Pythagoras theorem when they explain, right? They will ask you only one thing. Understood? Yes, sir. That's it. Not understood? Then explain again. There is no need of agreement there. Right? Whereas, when you come to this subject, we not only expect the student to understand what the teacher is saying, the student is expected to agree with what is being discussed. That's the crux here. If it is going to be just a question of matter of understanding, then this problem will not be there. And the teacher is also chanting. Why the teacher has to say there is no dispute? Because many times we find this, this Zomato you order, and the fellow will call you and ask direction to your house. In fact, one of the important training, I tell the parents to give to the kids, when they are small, not for you. You are big. You are really small. What to teach? I tell them, first thing you have to teach the child is to give direction from school to house. Ask a fellow to observe. Give direction. How will you give direction? And the fellow calls you, you tell him, come to this road, straight, take a left, and you find this shop, right opposite to the shop, there is a building, come to that building, 4th floor. And the fellow comes there, again he calls, sir, where is your house? 3rd time if he calls, what happens to you? You get irritated. Cancel the order. I don't need it only. Yes. Why? See, for you, direction to your house is a matter of fact. But for the person who doesn't know, what is it? Highly confusing. VV Mohalla, you come to that circle. In that circle, take a left. There are 3 lefts there. Which left to take? Today we are coming in that circle there, that VV Puram, that police station, that circle. You tell a fellow, take a left. Which left to take? Because there is a sharp left, there is a diagonal left, and there is a perpendicular left. Which left to take? See, for you it is, remember, when you know something, it is just a matter of fact. When you don't know, it is highly confusing. So, as far as the teacher is concerned, the truths propounded in the Shastras were all a matter of fact. That's all it is. What's your problem? But for the student it is very complex. So that student always gets confused. He says, what is it? So the teacher should not lose patience. You see that? The student will have a problem. The problem of the student is what is spoken here and what is your experience, totally different. Right? Your experience is one thing, what you are listening to will be totally different. Now, which one you will go by? Third, you travel one day in the bus, right? And in that bus you find a person standing there, little ahead of you with dhoti and dhoti kurta. You will find only one fellow in entire Mysore with dhoti kurta. Dhoti shirt you will see. Kurta pajama you will see. Dhoti and kurta only one fellow you will find in entire Mysore. Right? And you see that is Ishwaran. Sir, you try to catch my attention. Right? I attend your class. I heard you in Andal Mandiram. But I am very busy. I am not looking at you. Okay? What am I doing there? Picking the pocket from the fellow. I don't do that. Okay? I've stopped all that. I don't do all those things. I'm just giving an example. Okay? You see that picking the pocket. And before you could register, what has happened? Your bus stop has come. You got to get down. You got down and left. And next day, you see in Star of Mysore newspaper, Maharaja of Mysore is giving an award to Dr. Ishwaran. The best teacher award, lifetime achievement award given to this person. You read in the papers, Star of Mysore, read that. Now you tell me, Maharaja claims Ishwaran is such a great, it's an honor. Usually certain, awards when you get honored. But when certain people get the reward, that award gets honored. See, Ishwaran is such a person. This is what he claims. Now you tell me, will you go by the entire Mysore claiming Ishwaran to be a great person, or you will go by what you saw yesterday? Which one you will go by? Obviously, you will be, as you are reading, you will tell your wife what? Or you will tell in your family. What a pity. None of these people know the real face of that guy. Only I know his real face. Correct? Now, whole world may vouch for Ishwaran, but still you will go by what? Your experience. Now friends, you see the Shastra will say something totally different from what your experience is. How will you agree there? How can you agree? It is not possible. You will not be able to agree with what the scriptures are saying. Conflict is bound to happen. We can't escape from that conflict. You see, that's why in the beginning of the class itself, we remind ourselves that this conflict is bound to come. Let us not bring that disparity in the process of gaining knowledge. First, let us try to understand, weigh the pros and cons, and then let us try to resolve those things. Right now, let us commit ourselves to the study. That is why every class we start with this invocatory prayer. I repeat, Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahe, Tejasvinavadhidamastu, Mavit Vishavahe. Seek protection. Let's enjoy the contact. Let's enjoy the process. Not just enjoy, let's exert. That exertion should produce that spiritual lustre, and in the process we will encounter an obstacle. Let us remove that obstacle and engage in the study. All clear? This is what the invocation is. Right. And this mantra is a very popular mantra. You would have heard this in many places. It's a very popular one. Keeps on repeating, which comes in the Upanishad. This is an Upanishadic invocatory prayer. And now coming to our topic now, the Gita study. If you have to live a healthy life, there are two things you need to take care. I mean physical health I am talking about. Physical health. If you have to live a healthy life, you have to take care of the environment in which you live. You need to keep it clean. You need to keep it, germ free. You need to, you need to take care of that. Independent of that, there is one more factor also you have to take into consideration, because how much of cleanliness is possible externally? How much you can keep that environment clean? Wherever you go, can you? Not possible. To the extent you can keep that environment clean, you can keep it. But then, there is another dimension which is far more important. That is to develop that resistance for the diseases, which is what we call as immunity, immune power. You see, that's why in a house you find, one person catches cold, takes turn. 1 week this person, next week next person, next week next person. Almost like, 1 week, everybody falls sick. In and through all this, you find grandfather is not falling sick. Everybody else have got cold. Fever, cold, everybody had. But this man is, or that lady is not falling sick at all actually. You say, what is the secret? You say, the secret lies in their internal immune system. Now, what Vedanta talks about, or what this Bhagavad Gita talks about, is, have you developed the psychological immune system? How do you build that psychological immunity? And the tragedy is, through the study of psychology, can you develop psychological immunity? No, not possible. You see, a psychologist cannot be. How I am claiming is, I am a therapist by myself. I have got my PhD in psychotherapy. So I know what it can do and what it cannot do. If you get a disease, it will help you. But as I am helping you to get over the disease of depression, how you are susceptible to depression is the same susceptibility even I have. Now then, what is the difference between you and me then? A subject means it should create it, no, but it cannot. Why is because if you have to develop that psychological immune system, to develop a healthy system, for which you need to understand what is a healthy mind. If you have to understand what is healthy mind, the problem is psychology doesn't give you any clear definition of a healthy mind. There's no. It's not there. All that it says is, if you can socially adjustable means you are healthy. What if the whole society is mad? Adjusting to that is you are a healthy person. Sir, whole system is corrupt, sir. So I am also adjusting myself to the corrupt system. Healthy person, What is it? You see, that's how Bhagavad Gita starts. That is why the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is just giving us the backdrop. Now, unless we understand, like some years back, one of the this Motilal Banarsidas, one of the big publishers, the publishing house, director, he was there, and I had a chance to have a interaction with him and all that. So he was asking me, you teach Bhagavad Gita, according to you, Ishwaran, which is the most important chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? I said, first chapter. He said, what? First chapter? Yeah, first chapter. Why first chapter? Because in the entire first chapter, Krishna never utters a word. Not a word from Krishna. Dhritarashtra speaks, Sanjaya speaks, Arjuna speaks. Krishna, total silence. Speaking of Krishna. Why this chapter is so important is, this is where actual problem gets elucidated, explained. It's like, before you go to a treatment, medication, first requirement is to do the proper diagnosis. If you have done the diagnosis proper, 70% of the problem solved. If diagnosis is done, after that, even a chemist will be able to tell you what medicine to take. See, from this, pharmacy, they can also say, that's not a big problem. But diagnosis is the real problem. The first chapter presents the diagnosis of Arjuna's condition. And by presenting Arjuna's condition, Gita shows a mirror to our condition. That is our condition today. What is the condition? Both armies have assembled. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. The Pandavas army and the Kauravas army have assembled in this Kurukshetra battlefield. And it's amazing in this country, in the, entire history of humanity, the only country who had rules for war, only our culture. See, we had rules for war. Nowhere else, they follow the rules there. There's no rules actually. You just have to go. Whenever you get an opportunity, kill that fellow, full stop. There's no rules there. That's how the life is. See, we think, because of our, things we have lost. No. It's not because of divisions, because of all the, things that is portrayed. It's because of the fundamental law of life. The law of life is, if there is an encounter between a refined, cultured society and an unrefined society, unrefined will win over the refined. This is the law of life. You will not be able to understand it. What? Yes. A refined person were to get into a fight with an unrefined person, who will win the argument? If you don't know, take a train. Every day there are many trains going from Mysore to Chennai. Take the train, get down at that central station, Chennai, and try to have a negotiation with the auto fellow. You will know. Mysore autos are very passive fellows. We don't know them actually. Very sweet, these guys. You go there and have a negotiation with them. We will know how good a negotiator you are. Simple. You cannot win. Why? The moment you start, he will not start here, he will start from here. Now you have to stoop down. You cannot stoop down to that level. When you cannot stoop down to that level, you just have to succumb. There's no other option. This is the law of life, remember. Vedanta expounds such laws. See, the refined person. When a refined person comes in contact with an unrefined person, conflict, fight comes. The unrefined will win. This is a law. So what are we going to do now? That's the deterioration of entire humanity, if you see. So what has happened now, sir? He stoops down. So I don't want to lose. So what do I do now? I go even lower than him. And then what he will do next? Because life is not a single transaction, please. Every move we have to make. So every move, we are moving, falling down. Today, you will not be able to trust anybody. That's where we are today. If someone says this, you just can't take it as a matter of fact. He's suspect. Let's say your person goes to office, immediately tell them, share your, what is that? The auto. They share the location, share the trip. You just have to share the trip. So I keep monitoring where your auto is going. Why? From where to where we have come. There in Mysore I have heard, we have, this exhibition grounds. Where they used to have this, exhibitions and all that in those days. All that they would do is, they close the shops with the dhoti, with the cloth. Keep 4 stones in the 4 corners and go home. Next day morning they come, everything is intact. No need of, locks and this and that and security code and this code and that code. Today, why so much? Everyone is exploiting the other. That's it. We call this as evolution. Education. We think once you get educated, you will not. Who said? Most exploitation happens through subtle manner. More and more educated people keep coming up in the world. More and more we are getting, difficult it is becoming for us to identify. Remember, first requirement is to understand what is our current level. So both the armies have assembled. Where they have assembled? Where? Battlefield, Kurukshetra. In the battlefield, Arjuna unnecessarily asks one thing to Krishna. Place the chariot in the middle. Says, Senayor bhayor madhye ratam stapaya. Says, please place the chariot, the middle, so that I can decide how to begin the fight. So which means, till that point, Arjuna is very clear in his mind, what is he going to do? Fight the battle. But the moment he goes there, and Krishna is brilliant, he takes the chariot and places right in front of Bhishma, Drona. See, he didn't tell where. Okay. Arjuna only said place it in the center, that's all. He didn't say where. But Krishna's brilliance, is amazing. Personality Krishna's. He takes the chariot. Imagine Krishna would have taken the chariot and placed it in front of Duryodhana. Arjuna wouldn't have had any one of this problem. And I would have become unemployed. Bhagavad Gita wouldn't have come. And I would not know what to do. My life. Thank God, Krishna took the chariot and placed right in front of Bhishma and Drona. And the moment Arjuna saw Bhishma, Drona, his real problem started sprouting, came out. You see, his attachment to these personalities came into picture. Now, attachment means this, remember. Attachment means to any personality or to any object you come in contact with, you start believing that your entire mental happiness, peace is dependent on that. If that person is there, I am happy. If that person is not there, I am not happy. That's called attachment. If that person listens to me, I am happy. If the person doesn't listen to me, I am unhappy. If that person smiles at me, I am happy. If the person doesn't smile at me, I am unhappy. I get disturbed. That's called attachment. It could be with anybody, anything. It can be with object or it can be with the being. It can be with animals also. Right? You can get involved. You can get attached to an object. You can get attached to an animal. You can get attached to a plant. You can get attached to a human. You can get attached to anything. And remember, to anything you get attached, there is a consequence. The consequence is what Arjuna is experiencing now. Says, the moment he comes there, his attachment to these people. So first requirement is to discover our problem. Arjuna discovered his problem through experiencing the consequence of attachment. So when you get attached, what happens? When there is attachment, you become dependent. The moment you become dependent, then you are not in your control. You have given charge of your mental peace, your mental happiness, joy, contentment, fulfillment to the hands of the other person. So the other person is going to be controlling the whole thing now. So the consequence of dependency is what? Sorrow. So first thing is, first chapter of the Gita, of course, I am not going to go in this course. We are not going to go chapter by chapter by chapter. Oh no, because we are going to understand the backdrop, I am saying the first chapter. So initially it just describes who are all there, what is there and all that. First portion, first half of the chapter. Right. And then he starts seeing these people and then his attachment comes in, that raga, the attachment comes. The moment that attachment comes, the consequence of that is sorrow, shoka, agitation, disturbance. And Arjuna is referred to as Mahabaho. It's mighty armed. He's a mighty armed person. Don't think Arjuna is a normal person, please. Like we put, no, in the CVs and all, people write US written. You write, US written, this written, that written and all we put. Arjuna's CV is heaven written. He did not go to heaven. Heaven invited him. You know that? It's not that you apply for visa to US. US government invites you. Please come. And you say what? I will not stand in the visa counter and all that. No, sir. Your visa is sanctioned already. Please come. Tickets I will not buy. No, sir. We are sending the tickets. Stay arrangement, we will take care. Who said that? The Devas have said that. Devas invited him, please come and be our guest for a time. He went there. Amazing fellow. What a power he must be having. And he was matching in the duel with Lord Shiva. Can you believe? Someone who is matching Lord Shiva in battle. Amazing fellow. That's why he is called a Savya Saching. Savya Saching means he can shoot arrows with both hands. You may not understand what's the meaning of that. What does it mean, sir? It means if he plays with the right hand, he will play like Tendulkar. If he takes God left hand, he will play like Brain Lara. Imagine a batsman who can play like Tendulkar this side, and if he takes left hand, so every over he can keep changing. Every ball he can keep changing. The right hand batsman will, usually we see that, right hand batsman or right hand batsman. Once in a while you will see them changing. That's just, for one ball they do it. That's it. That's also make or break. But the class with which Lara bats, the same class with which Tendulkar bats as a right hand batsman. Imagine someone who can be like that. Unbelievable. That is Arjuna. That Arjuna, why I am giving all this build-up is, that Arjuna says, my mouth is parched, my head is spinning, I am having horripilation, Romaharsha, he says. He says, my hair stands on end. I am not able to stand. My knees are knocking. My head is spinning. I don't have strength to hold Gandirva. Can you believe someone of that stature collapses the battlefield? And best part is Krishna standing there and watching the whole thing. You should remember, it's happening right in front of him. He collapses and he sits. That's why you'll find in the Gita, paintings, you'll find Krishna standing, Arjuna sitting. Usually, in the Guru-Sishya relationship, it will be Sishya standing, Guru sitting. In Gita, it's exactly opposite. Krishna standing, Arjuna sitting. Why? The fellow doesn't even have energy to stand up. That was his condition. Collapsed completely in the battlefield. Then, attachment brought about this agitation. The consequence of that mental agitation is the thinking gets clouded. You see, you cannot think straight anymore after that. Once your mind is disturbed, you can't think straight. That's why Arjuna starts giving many reasons for not fighting. Why this war should not be fought. Gives amazing reasonings. You see, he says, who are these people? The wretched fellows. He calls them as Atatayi. Mitra droge cha patakam, he says. This is Mitra droga. We will be committing what? Guru droha we make. How can you kill someone who taught you how to hold the bow and arrow to shoot? How can you kill them? Obviously, you should not. You know what will happen, Krishna, as a result of this killing? The whole society will get into corruption. The social order will collapse. This Kula Dharma will collapse. The families will collapse. Social disharmony will come. Disorder will come. So it has a consequence. Seeing all those consequences, should we engage in that? Isn't it better that we get out of this battlefield and live on alms? Beg and live, man, big deal. Instead of killing all these people, isn't it better to beg and live? I think that's better. That would be the right thing to do. Huh? Okay, Krishna, if we win this, what will we get? What will we get? I kill all these people, I win this big battle, what will I get out of it? Kingdom you get? What kingdom? Huh? Like this fellow says, every morsel of food that I would be consuming will be soaked in their blood, he says. Krishna. Oh, very dramatic way of presenting. Arjuna says, Krishna, what will be happening after this battle? If I win this battle, what will happen? Every morsel of food that I will be consuming would be soaked in their blood. How can you live life like that? You see, Shakespeare, Macbeth, he says, after killing Duncan, Macbeth, triggered by the Lady Macbeth, she poisons his thoughts and says that Duncan king, that Duncan is coming to their house as a guest. She says, kill that fellow, you become the king. You take over the kingdom, kill him. So when he is sleeping, this Macbeth goes and kills Duncan. And then he comes out, full of blood in his hands. He comes. And the Lady Macbeth goes and asks, is the task done? And fantastic answer he gives. Macbeth murdered sleep. Macbeth murdered sleep. He doesn't say Macbeth has murdered Duncan. He says Macbeth murdered sleep. Why? After doing something like this, worst action this is. How can you be peaceful? How can you sleep after that? Can't sleep after that. And this, you read that portion after, this all comes very early in this Macbeth, play. She goes mad and this fellow can't live life, and finally he also dies, this guy. It's amazing one. Same way, Arjuna says, you want me to suffer like, Macbeth. I am not Macbeth, he says. I will not do that. It is better, even if all the three worlds are going to be achieved, given to me, killing all these people is wrong. I am sure all of you would have got convinced, correct? You read this portion, that's why I am not going into the details of it. But then, Krishna is not uttering a word. Yes. He says, first step is what? His attachment surfaced. Once attachment surfaced, there is agitation, disturbance, sorrow. That sorrow, disturbed mind, disturbs your clarity of thinking. Thinking goes. That's what moha we say. Moha means delusion. That is why this chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So the whole problem gets identified first. So once the problem is identified, still Krishna is not saying anything. The silence of Krishna turns Arjuna to reconsider. He says, I don't know Krishna, I am totally confused. Please. Karpanya dosha, he says. This Karpanya dosha has taken over my swabhava, he says. My swabhava has taken you over. And I am not able to think clearly. Prichavitvam. Yes. I am not able to think clearly. So therefore, Krishna, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam says, please take me, I surrender to you as a student. Sishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. Why? You have to tell me what is shreyas to me, what is good to me, not what is comfortable to me, what is pleasing to me. That's not what he says. He's not saying, please tell me which is nice for me to hear. No, no, no. Please tell me what is good to me. These two words is the foundation of the Gita sermon. If Arjuna would not have used these two words, Sishyasteham, I surrender to you. Please accept me as your student. Sishyasteham, and I have surrendered to you doesn't mean please tell me what is nice for me, what is easy for me to do. Please tell me what is the right thing to be done. You see, that's the catch here. Yes. That's why first thing is, in chapter 1, what has happened? Chapter 1, the starting point is discovery of the problem. First thing. Now, after discovering the problem, one thing is very, very important. You may understand you have a problem. Exactly like you are stuck in a quicksand. Okay. When you are stuck in quicksand, your legs have gone in. Imagine you use your hands to press the sand to get out. What will happen? You will sink more. More the effort you put in, more you will sunk. So what is very important in life is not just knowing the problem. You see, the problem in life, the trouble with most folks, says Josh Billings. It's a beautiful statement of his. The trouble with most folks is not so much so their ignorance as their knowing so many things which end so. Beautiful statement. Even if you forget entire Gita class, take this statement. Your life is set. The problem people suffer in this world, says Josh Billings, people suffer in this world not because of their ignorance. They suffer because they believe they know so many things which is not correct. It is not so. The trouble with most folks is not so much so their ignorance as their knowing so many things which ends so. That's not the case, man. Second one is the very important step. That is to recognize our helplessness to resolve the problem. I am not carrying sufficient strength in me for me to solve the problem of shoka. Because the shoka, the agitation that I am experiencing is a symptom. Remember, it's a symptom. The disease is raga, attachment. You see, attachment is the cause, agitation is the effect. Now, all of us, when we go to a doctor, we go to a doctor with the symptom only. We go to the doctor telling him, sir, I am having headache. You know, this is a constant headache I am having. I go to him with the problem of headache only. I will not go to him for the cause of the disease. The cause would be diagnosed by the doctor. Doctor will say, what is the problem? He may say anything. You see, he would say, oh, there is a tumor in the brain. You don't go to the doctor with the understanding of tumor in the brain. You go to the doctor, I have pain. That's it. So, if the doctor were to give you a paracetamol, painkiller, and send you, that's also there. You see. But a doctor would not do that. A chemist may say that. But the doctor will say what? Go through this process. This is where the student experiences the pangs of samsara, the pain of samsara. Also he understands that I am not having a solution to get over this problem. I do not know how to get over this attachment, but I don't want to suffer this attachment also. What am I to do? So step 1, Arjuna understood his problem, and also he understood that he is helpless. I can't treat myself. Self-medication is not. That's what most of us do. When we have problem, first thing we do is what? That's why many times we find, people asking their friends for advice. Hey, I'm having this problem here, please advise me. What should I do? One blind is asking another blind. And the best part is that blind also advises. We feel like, giving one slap to both actually. One idiot and two idiots. You should go and seek advice from whom? It's exactly like I am asking the help from a person who is also stuck in the quicksand. Hey, you help me, man. If he tries to help, what will happen? Both will sink faster. That's what Upanishad says. It's like blind leading the blind. Both fall into the ditch, says. Blind leading the blind, says Upanishad. Alas, Hanta, says. What a tragedy, life. Fortunately for Arjuna, solution was right in front of him. You see, we may not be having that fortune. That's the blessing of Arjuna. The good that he has done has kept, Krishna right in front of him. Like, remember, even Duryodhana also experienced agitation. Duryodhana also experienced. He was fuming with jealousy. He was so agitated, so disturbed, seeing the prosperity of the Pandavas. It was all before, well before the, battle and all that. When Yudhishthira was performing the Rajasuya, this fellow was invited. And he goes and sees this palace of these Pandavas. Kids felt so jealous. And he is fuming. And while coming back, he says, I am not entering into Hastinapura. I am going to take sannyasa and leaving, or I am going to commit suicide. Only two choices I have. Should I commit suicide or should I take sannyasa? I am not entering this. I am not going to. I don't want it. He also experienced a similar condition. But then the next step made all the difference between Arjuna and Duryodhana. Remember, in your life, who you are going to keep as a fallback option defines whether your life is made or your life is marked. Duryodhana took Shakuni and Karna as his fallback option. Arjuna took Krishna as his fallback option. See, to whom you surrender? You will surrender to somebody. You can't live life without surrendering to somebody. But to who you are going to surrender defines whether your life is going to be made or your life is going to be marked. Arjuna understood his helplessness And then he fortunately did not plunge into self-medication. He went and surrendered to Krishna. After surrendering to Krishna, Krishna takes over. 11th verse of the second chapter onwards, Krishna's advice starts. Ashochanan vashochastvam prajnavadam shabashase gatasona gatasumsya jnanucho shanti pandita. You speak like a great pandit. Yes. You speak so great, man. All that you talk so well. But then, all your philosophy, all your thought process has landed you where? Now, real masters don't do that here. They will not cry like this. They will not be living their life like that. So, the second chapter comes. The beginning of Krishna's advice. Right? So, what was the question of Arjuna? I am confused. I do not know what is the right thing to be done, to fight the battle or not to fight the battle. What is the right thing I have to do? Please guide me and tell me which is good for me. Is fighting the battle good for me or not fighting the battle good for me? Tell me which is good for me. The second chapter. Almost the second chapter comes in as the entire roadmap of Bhagavad Gita. That entire Bhagavad Gita compressed. Like, in public speaking, they give this as one of the advices. How do you structure your public speeches? When you speak, how do you structure it? They say. The structure has to be, tell the audience what you are going to say. Tell the audience, then tell them what you have said. I repeat. Tell them what you are going to say. Then tell them. And then tell them what you have told them. So, the second chapter and the 18th chapter, these two chapters stands as the compressed material of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So if you read the second chapter, you have got the entire Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, if you read that 18th chapter, you have got the entire Bhagavad Gita summary. So second chapter stands as an introduction. So the doctor has already telling the patient what is the entire course of medication is going to be before starting the medication actually. So first thing he says, look here Arjuna, if you have to get over this samsaric problem of yours, attachment, raga and moha and shoka, the only solution for that is to have the knowledge of the self. You have to get that knowledge. But then, to get that knowledge, you should develop the yogyata for that. You should develop a qualification. Exactly like, before they do the surgery, the doctors prepare the patient. They check whether the patient is qualified for surgery. What is their sugar level, their BP, and all these things they check, you see, before they take them to the surgery. So, first in the second chapter, he says, what is the procedure? Procedure is to gain that self-knowledge. How do you gain? What is the only solution? He says, the only solution is knowledge. Right. But to get that knowledge, you should be qualified now. Correct? Qualification is needed. Now, unqualified person where to study, what will happen? It will not. So he says, what is that? Jnana, yogyata should be gained first. Right. There he explains the process of karma yoga. So he gives the jnana yoga first, knowledge, and then he gives the gist of Karma Yoga. Why he suddenly talks about Karma Yoga is this is what is going to give you that qualification to understand what is presented there. Right? And then he describes a person who is psychologically healthy. Who is a psychologically healthy person? What is the description? What is the nature of a person who is not suffering from the disease of raga, shoka, moha? What is he? Where you will take, if you study all these things, if you do this karma yoga, you practice and then gain that knowledge and whatever, all the disciplines you do, end of all these things, where it will take you? It will take you to a position of a person who has reached that state of psychological immunity. The one who is independent. That is the Sthita Prajna. Second chapter concludes. And then actual treatment starts. You're all with me? What is the structure? How the development is happening? The first chapter describes the problem. He recognizes the problem. What is the problem, sir? The problem of attachment, and experiences the consequence of that sorrow. And that sorrow further develops into confusion, delusion, moha. So raga has led to shoka, shoka has led to moha, and finally he understood that he is totally helpless to get over this problem of his. Any solution that he is able to come up with doesn't seem to be resolving that issue. Now what to do? He says, I surrender to Krishna. And then what Krishna does? He gives a solution. What is the solution? Solution is jnanam, knowledge. What knowledge? The self-knowledge. The indestructibility of the embodied. All that things we will see in the next class. Okay? I'm just giving you the base now, so that we can build further. So the base is this. And then he gives the qualification to gain that knowledge. Like you have to pass NEET exam, no? To get into medicine. Without passing the NEET exam, if you go and sit in the medical class, what will you understand? You may get a special entry, bypass. You can sneak into their classroom somehow. Medical college is there, no? I am staying there. Medical college only I am staying. So you can sneak into their classroom. They will also speak. They will speak in English only. It's not that you don't know English. Still, what will you be able to understand? You just cannot understand anything out of it. The best part is, you will come out of the classroom with the clear understanding that you have not understood anything. The tragedy of Vedanta is, you will go back with the belief that you have understood. That's tragedy. That's why I quoted you this Josh Billings. The trouble with most folks is not their ignorance, as they're knowing so many things which end so. Dangerous one. Like one thing, even today it creates disturbance to me. I get really scared by this statement, by this fact of life. Like when my guru told me this, my teacher, he said, Dai, do you understand? No madman knows that he is mad. You all understand, no, the statement? No mad person understands he is mad. No mad person will go to the hospital saying, I think I am crazy. Can you treat me? He will never. No mad person will know that he is mad. That means I know that I am not mad. What does it mean? Maybe I am totally off. Now how will you know that you are not? It's staggering, huh? It's scary. It really scares me even now. I say, my God, how will you know? Krishna helps there. He says, who is that psychologically healthy person? That portion, Sthita Prajna portion, from verse 55 to 72. Outstanding piece. You see, certain aspects of Bhagavad Gita you will find only in Bhagavad Gita. So many texts are there, but you will not find a clear description of exactly like how the painters paint, the stroke by stroke they make that painting beautiful. Like that artistic beauty you find in Krishna's presentation about the Sthita Prajna portion there. It says, who is that psychologically healthy person? So what Krishna does here, he starts the medication. First thing he says, what is the process? The process of medication is going to be, treatment is surgery. But for surgery, I have to qualify you for that. Qualifying that is this. So, Arjuna suffered the problem, surrendered. Krishna has given the blueprint of the medication. Right? What is that? We will see from next class. Right? Any clarification? Doubt from today's class?